How do you pet a porcupine? It's more than an important zoological question. If you know the answer, it just may help you to be a better leader, no matter your organization. Roger Hall's written a book about the challenge of internal communication in an organization. He's founding partner of Porcupine Communications with more than 30 years of experience in marketing. And welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And to make it out of the gate, you know, you're not one of these traveling authors just coming through town. You actually live here in our region, right?
That's exactly right.
Brought here by your career in marketing?
Right. Yeah, I was with Siemens and Ericsson, Director of Advertising at Rubbermaid. And at Siemens, we had over 440,000 employees worldwide.
Wow, a lot of your career spent on that sort of external messaging, right? Your advertising, marketing, corporate relations, public relations, how to present outwardly, and yet your book, How Do You Pet a Porcupine? Solutions to Your Prickly Communications Problems, is really more focused on internal communications. Why?
That's right. Well, we had an external program which was really solid and clean and crisp, and we presented the company as leading edge, progressive, but when you try to reflect it to the internal communications, it didn't match at all. It was very divisive.
So what does all this have to do with porcupines?
Well, the porcupine is usually a defensive creature. They're docile and they're loners, but when someone comes after a porcupine, they ball up and they have 30,000 quills. And then in the book we talk about the fisher, which is a member of the weasel mink family, and that's the predator. And the fisher stays in front of the porcupine, and he dances around like a lot of managers and tires them out. and then he bites them on the nose and sends the porcupine into shock. The porcupine runs backwards at the predators and flips the quills with his tail. And if you don't extract the quills, it goes in the predator 2 inches deeper every day and reaches the heart and lungs and kills the animal.
Okay, that's a great way to think about your employees.
That's right.
Never thought about that analogy. Well, how do you begin to deal with that then?
Well, for instance, at Bell Corps, we had over 500 PhDs, but no one ever asked their opinion. Like, I reported to a guy who's a PhD from Harvard in math, and he was a brilliant man and a good guy, but he was given orders like the military from top on down, and no one ever asked him his opinion and what he thought should be happening in the marketplace. And so that's a situation where you have to develop personal relationships. More and more today, people are relying on email, and that builds walls. Instead of establishing a relationship with an individual in a certain department, you just depend on email, and that's not really very good.
That's interesting. I never thought about email as a porcupine quill, but it does get in the way.
It does. It does. For instance, I worked for a Swedish company, and I had good relations with the guys back in Stockholm. And when we met with the chairman, my boss, who was Swedish, and he met with the other people in the United States who were Swedish, they'd agree to it, but then they'd call their presidents back in Stockholm and rescind the order. And so finally I called my buddies back in Stockholm. I said, hey, what's going on here? And they told me how to solve it. They said that the chairman of the mother company and the company in the U.S., both those fellows went to school together. So he said, you walk into your chairman, which I did, and tell him to call Bjorn back in Stockholm and say, knock off this stuff. And that's exactly what happened. Wow. So, yeah, being direct can be helpful. The other point, I think there's 7 points in the book, which is a real easy read, very well organized, and you know, not something that can be digested and acted upon pretty quickly. Point 3 is tell the truth. Now, you're an old PR guy. Yeah. That's literally a word you live by, especially in internal communication? Well, we did. We had a spin, but we always told the truth. And for instance, I was with a UK company. I used the president in a press conference. He made up a product. And then the press called me the next day because I had good relations with him. They said, that is not accurate. And I went to the president and he laughed. He said, I just made that up to sound good. Oh, gee. And so you have to tell the truth. You have to have credibility. And truth just as important in internal communication. Exactly. Maybe more important. It's more important because a lot of people have hidden agendas and there's a lot of blame game. And you have to be careful because you aren't given all the information all the time. Well, a lot to think about. The book's called How Do You Pet a Porcupine? Solutions to Your Prickly Communications Problems. Roger Hall, congratulations. Well, thank you very much. And we'll be back in a minute with more of our Region's Business. Stay with us.